So he keeps the hydrogen in that. It's not any more dangerous than a tank of gas.
This is the solution, yeah.
And he's running on a VLS motor, LS platform. LS Chevy crate motor.
You know, you were a technician before you started the engineering process. A lot of these engineers come out of school
do
and
it.
draw
Cars that run on
they don't
hydrogen, fuck
understand how
that.
things actually
We're not
work
trying
in
to
the real world.
do, they don't need to be trying to do all that extra shit where you're still using the battery acid to fucking make the fucking electricity to propel an electric motor. The propellant motor needs to be a hydrogen powered motor.
This will be one of those things I look back on when I'm an old man. Be like,
Let's take it back to the beginning.
A 6.2 liter GM LS. We topped it with a Magnuson 2650 supercharger. It's a LS3 block. It has LSA cylinder heads. All the internals are Fords. It has a K1 crank, K1 rods. It has Wiseco pistons. It has total seal rings in it. You know, there was just so much unknown. So we wanted to overbuild it to the point that it could, if we messed up and got too much timing in it, or detonated it or whatever, that it wasn't going to blow up. So we overbuilt it like crazy. This engine makes 500 horsepower.
They have 500 horsepower on nothing but hydrogen.
It has more energy, but it's less efficient
LS
to burn,
engine.
so you need to make some power. You have the opportunity, obviously, to turn the boost up. Hydrogen has a very high theoretical octane rating. So there's not a straight conversion to get that number. Theoretically, and by all the testing, hydrogen is equal to about 130 octane.
So the fuck is that?
So there have been hydrogen engines run with 25 pounds of boost on an 11-to-1 motor. There's a lot of opportunity. We're injector limited, so all of the parts, as you can imagine, are experimental. We're working really hard to have some production-based stuff come in, and it'll be bigger. We have 16 fuel injectors. There are 8 in this block that we machine.
So now LS motor.
Traditional location down in the blower. So we have to use 16 because they're designed for like a small 3-cylinder motor. Nobody ever thought that the hot rodder would want hydrogen. I'm a hot rodder.
I want hydrogen.
so just looking at under the hood, the only thing that really sticks out is it not being a normal hot rod truck is like this.
Yep.
What is that?
That's the fuel cell.
Regulator. So we put
A fuel regulator.
5,000 PSI in the tank. We regulate it down to about 110 PSI.
He's running on nothing, no gas,
So that's
complete
the regulator.
hydrogen.
With 5,000
Gas
in it.
hydrogen in particular.
109 out.
This is the coolest thing because even I was blown away when I heard about this. That it's not boring. It makes 500 horsepower supercharged. It's a V8. It makes all the right sounds.
V8.
Yep.
Sounds like a muscle car, not a fucking pussy ass electric speaker car.
Is what it's sounding, and truthfully we didn't know. We got it all together, and the first time we fired it up, all it would do was idle, because that's how you kind of start the calibration motor. So it was sitting there idling. I was behind the truck. There's no
Use an
smell.
LS
And
engine.
only thing you get's a little bit of water out of the tailpipes when you first start. Once the exhaust heats up, that
The only pollution is water.
Listen to it run. Rather than taking it myself, we just changed it. Outside.
There's a bunch of people with patents on this shit, and that's why it's not being mass produced.
Here it is.
We just gotta say fuck the patents and do it. Tweak it a little bit.
I know how you said when you were at
See?
the Optima Challenge.
I don't know how many miles to get to the tank he
If you look
gets.
at this thing from a distance, it's this big thing in the back with like a giant nitrous bottle. And it says,
That's like your gas tank in your car.
You almost
He has no gas tank.
Like it looks like big Acme hydrogen bottle. But you get closer and you're like, wait a minute, this thing's real.
We had lots of people crawl into the truck looking for a gas tank. But they didn't believe it would run on processed water.
This thing's just awesome.
I think it means non-salt water by processed water. Sounds just like a muscle car. The first guy that did it he did it on a Corvette. What kind of dog is that?
it doesn't fully evaporate, so you have to put more fuel into the light ends can evaporate, so you can get the proper air fuel ratio. Because this is already a gas going in, right where it is.
We increase the RPM just a little bit based on temperature to give it because of the cold of the oil.
Yeah.
I want to make that.
It's like regular on-road truck.
And you just can make the hydrogen at your house.
Let you see the tank.
All you need is water, Drano, and a fuel cell, and an outlet for electricity.
The water coming out.
Nothing. Literally nothing.
So what happens if this was running in a garage and you were like letting it run in there? Would you kill yourself?
No.
You could let this run in your garage with the door closed forever?
Yes, until it ran out of fuel. You could literally, you got temperature, right? Exhaust temperature, but excluding the temperature, you could put a hose on the exhaust, run it to a mask, and just stand there and breathe forever. We've run emission tests on it. We ran the EPA certification test.
There's no EPA.
FTP 74, FTP 75, and USO 6, which are the three key kind of tests to validate where you're at emission-wise. And there is no carbon. There's more carbon in the air than comes out the tailpipe.
I was gonna say, why
So
would
it
they
actually
even bother
cleans
doing
a
that? It's
little
only
bit of
pollute.
carbon
It's
out of
only
the air.
oxygen that comes out.
Interesting.
Yeah, with the EPA test,
Sure.
they actually put the vehicle in a controlled cell, and they look at everything that comes in, and everything that comes out, not just the tailpipes, the evaporative, everything out of.
But there's
the
no
entire
gas,
vehicle.
so that's why it's zero. That was a waste of
You
time.
would fill on a header and that would
Oh
throw
yeah,
off.
it lighted
Oh,
up.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to make sure you have no leaks. The engine in this is based on a 2014 Cadillac CTSV or a 2014 Camaro. So either LS3 or LSA. They take
Oh, is that-
the government
oh.
takes all of the
Interesting.
emissions, they put them
LS3
together,
motor.
and they come up with a number, and it's defined as a bin. This engine, when it was new, was a bin 1. Lower numbers are. They've gotten that much better. The government regulations have changed, so you have to be that much better. Our first run with this truck with no catalytic converters, no exhaust after treatment, no tank evap because we don't evap anything. Right. Our first run was a bin 7.
So it's book your name.
No, they ain't paying me for no advertisement. They got no free advertising on this channel. God damn, it's a long ass commercial. The first guy that did it though, he did it with a Corvette.
So we're that much better.
I think it was like an 87 Corvette.
2035 is when today all the regulations are slated to change. And the requirement for 2035 is that they be a SULEV rating, which is once you get past bin, then you go to SULEV. And
Where is Ben in?
bin 50.
50, all right.
Yeah, and then you go into SULEV, and it goes, 40, 30, 20, 10, based on some knocks that we get at a couple specific points. The heavy acceleration cycle, we know where those are. We're working to try to do them, but we have a backup plan that will allow us to be SULEV 20. So
Is that even from the combustion, or is that just like crankcase oil that's left on the cylinder wall?
we're not really seeing that, even when we measure for carbon. So our total seals are sealed enough. They're working exceptionally well, and we have a little bit of an elaborate crankcase ventilation system that we created for this. But what it really is we have no carbon at all. We just need to control in a couple of finite places the NOx. Our NOx on our first run was 0.086. 90% of that away.
I'm trying not to ask questions that I think you won't want to answer.
I just won't answer it.
What's the bin number or the SULEV number of like the best gasoline burning hybrid car, whatever, that you could, like a Prius or something like that?
If you just do internal combustion engine, okay, because they
This is how
calculate
hydrogen should
electric for emission rates different than they do gasoline.
Huh.
So if you use anything gasoline based, I don't know of anything that's where we are today. I don't know of anybody that's at bin 70. There's some bin 90s, mid 90s out there, but that's some really small engine that's really limited on power and specifically targeted certain areas. But I think we're as good or better than any internal combustion engine in the world today.
And you're making over twice the power with an engine that's
Yeah, we're
fun.
the other ones that are making bin 70 or bin 80 or 90. We're probably 5 times the power they are.
Oh, so they're little engines.
Yeah, and we're doing it with no exhaust after.
That's the big piece, right? There's nothing. You've done literally
Headers.
nothing.
Straight stainless exhaust.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, stainless
So,
steel don't rust.
That's the hydrogen part of it, right?
Yeah.
So hydrogen, it's impossible to make carbon with hydrogen. You have to induce something that burns that creates carbon if you're going to get any carbon out of this
Yeah.
truck.
Well, I guess probably if somebody watching this would think, what happens if somebody rear ends you in that tank?
I thought it was just a
Pops.
thought. I want
tank
one.
is DOT certified, so for crash. So this is what they make them in stage 3 and stage 4. This is a spun aluminum tank that's wrapped with carbon fiber.
Oh.
So if you were to crash it, it doesn't matter. It's almost impossible to puncture. And if you did, it would just, the hydrogen would go straight up. This is actually designed for use in a bus.
Okay.
So they use them in a lot of, they'll put a number of them on the roof of a bus. So, but there's a company that builds these, and this one was manufactured in Canada. Interesting story, when we built this truck, of course, real tight timeline, and I ordered this tank, and it took me, it was like an act of Congress, right? Because when you go into this world, if people don't know who you are and don't know what you're doing, they're very suspicious, and they're very guarded, right? So I finally get through the tank manufacturer, they build me a tank, I get all that. We're shipping it into the country, so, because it was made in Canada. Customs seized it
The fuck?
because they thought it was a bomb.
Right. Yeah.
What's up, Ahmed?
So we made the truck run
okay,
using
so I'm
welding
back.
tanks full of hydrogen. So when we showed up at SEMA, we didn't even have a fuel tank because Customs did. It actually arrived here on opening day of SEMA. So, but you know, there's so many things like that, and so many pieces of this battle to get this thing to running and driving and get to where we are today. You know, we're not a huge company, right? We're not some well-known whatever OE or whoever. And so when I call these companies and say I need these parts, they're like, what? You need what? Yeah, I do. What are you doing with it? Well, I'm building a truck that runs on hydrogen. You can't do that. Yeah, I know you can't, but we can.
I've seen other videos on YouTube. It's weird because there's not a whole lot about this, and I don't even know if this video will get a bunch of views because I think somebody might like manipulate it behind the scenes. Hopefully not. But the popular videos about hydrogen are the people saying bad stuff about it. That it will sit in your tank and go away after 3 days or something like that.
Because they don't understand permeable and they never engineered for it. There's liquid hydrogen, there's gaseous hydrogen. Right? Liquid hydrogen has to be maintained at a cold temperature like minus 128. In the past, BMW did some work where they did a liquid hydrogen car, and they actually used the hydrogen to create the cold to keep the tank, to keep the hydrogen as a liquid.
So that actually depleted it over
If
time.
it sat for 2 weeks, it would empty the tank, right? If you're using gaseous hydrogen and any of it ever comes out that depletes, it's because you have a leak. It doesn't require to be maintained at any temperature. It's hot, it builds more pressure than it does cold, but it doesn't require any specific things. In a gaseous state, you can use it at 350 bar, which is where we're at. You could do 700 bar, which is where
One of these friends can order
This looks pretty
whatever she
official.
wants from the menu. The other has food allergies. You do your best to avoid food allergens, but accidents can still...
Oh no, they're past. No, don't say that music.
We're here at the 2022 PRI show in Indianapolis, and I've got the distinct pleasure to be joined by our good friend, Mr. Mike Copeland. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm very excited to chat with Mike. Mike and I go back a long time and have had a lot of interesting experiences over the years, but the main focus right now, the hot topic, of course, is the hydrogen-powered vehicles, converting traditional gas engines to hydrogen, and you are leading the charge on this.
We are, absolutely.
So last year at the SEMA show, you had the beautiful red, it's a 48
Yep.
Chevy pickup truck with an LS3 supercharged engine converted to run on hydrogen.
Correct.
And this year at SEMA, that was out driving around in front of the show.
It was actually racing. We competed in the Optimus series with that truck.
That is too cool.
First time that we know of, and we've
Hold
done
on, let me
research,
find something better.
that a hydrogen burning ICE engine vehicle has competed in a race series in North America.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, I believe it. I mean, it's not definitely not common.
No, it's just not.
And then you.
This looks interesting.
At BMW, we are leading the charge.
What are they doing,
of pioneering
electric?
technologies, collaborating with the best partners and gearing up for the perfect moment. Across the globe, hydrogen is now gaining ground as a pathway to clean energy, transforming the idea of hydrogen-powered mobility into a tangible reality. Fuel cell electric vehicles and battery electric vehicles are the only available technologies that allow zero-emission driving. But fuel cell vehicles have a clear advantage. Range and energy density. Just a few kilograms of
Fuel
hydrogen
cells?
will give you 500-600 kilometers of range.
God damn.
People love to have a quick recharge, and so with a fuel cell vehicle, you
Fuck
can have
that.
the same like today on a combustion engine.
Oh wait,
vehicle.
yeah, that's the no.
Let's
I
move
said
to
fuck. I thought I said
geopolitics
fuel
and
cell
all
where you
the
charge an electric
Fuel cell
motor.
electric vehicles only need a few grams of platinum. Battery electric vehicles have large batteries, and they need tons of raw
And they're
material.
heavy.
And if you take then and look what's happening outside of the automotive industry,
Like ripping
you
up
see
all
there
these
is a
potholes.
trend to go to zero emission in the entire industry.
And they're
So
trying
not
to make
only
it potholes
mobility,
everywhere.
And here you have a chance with hydrogen to get green hydrogen from renewable energy, and this propels your vehicle. Almost half a century we are dealing with hydrogen. Imagine our first vehicle came in 1979, and we demonstrated in a 5 Series the capabilities of hydrogen in a combustion engine. And then during the 80s and 2000s, we had more of those hydrogen demonstration vehicles. And then what you see through the cooperation that we had with Toyota, the first car was our 5 Series almost 10 years ago, where we had the first fuel cell vehicle. And now we have a pilot fleet running in the X5, and the interest on the technology is super high. BMW is always exploring new ways.
A hydrogen vehicle is an electric car in which the energy is stored in the form of hydrogen. Underpinning the BMW X5-based hydrogen car is a framework of 2 hydrogen tanks, the fuel cells, and the electric motor. The 2 hydrogen tanks are located in the center in the underbody of the vehicle. The fuel cell in the front engine compartment produces electricity from the hydrogen, where a chemical reaction takes place between gaseous hydrogen and
Well, I want a
oxygen
gas-powered
in the air.
engine. I want to.
Maintaining a steady supply of both elements to the fuel cell's membrane is of crucial importance for the drive system's efficiency.
Hydrogen fits perfectly into BMW's technology openness strategy. There's no doubt we are fully committed to rolling out battery electric vehicles. However, we at BMW think individual customers have individual choices, and we want to make sure everybody can be satisfied. And so we strongly believe, besides battery electric vehicles, that fuel cell powertrains are a perfect complementary technology to have zero emission driving in many, many markets around the globe.
There's the other one.
We are working with Toyota already more than 10 years. If you look at our ambition for the next generation
I like
fuel
this
cell
one.
vehicle, this is a much, much bigger thing.
This one's badass right here, this one.
Buckle up, folks. Something epic has arrived, and it's about to redefine the future of speed and sustainability. Welcome to the world of the Hyperion XP1. Yeah, you heard right. This stunner isn't powered by boring old gasoline or ordinary electricity. It's a hydrogen powerhouse. The only trail it leaves, pure, clean water vapor. Wow! Ever imagine driving from New York to Florida on a single tank with a mind-blowing 1,000-mile range? It's no longer just a dream. And it's not just about longevity. We're talking lightning-fast speed. Think 221 miles per hour and 0 to 60 in less than 2.2 seconds. Crafted with high-tech carbon fiber and titanium, this ride is ready for the spotlight. Innovation? Check. It harnesses the power of the sun with solar panels that follow the sunlight. The XP1 is a game changer, but remember, it's still on its journey to mass production. So stay tuned. The future of clean, high-speed travel is almost here.
Hashtag one said, hi,
Something epic has arrived.
hi, King,
it's about
hashtag
to
one.
redefine the future of speed and sustainability. Welcome to the...
Yeah, the other cool one is, where's the other one? There's another one too. This one, oh, this one shows the back of it.
Buckle up, folks.
Right. Oh, where'd it go? Oh.
H2O is split the H2 from O, and it's possible to do it in scale and around the world.
This is power. The power to change the world.
I set the challenge. We should be making hydrogen engines for the construction industry and for agriculture.
There we go.
A solution that delivers power in the same way as conventional engines, but with none of the fossil fuels. We're proving daily that hydrogen does work, that it's a clean, renewable, transportable fuel. Surely that's a great benefit for the world. H2O.
Look at this incredible car.
Like, subscribe, share it, thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Turned it though. What do I do with this?
Hyperion powered by hydrogen fuel. The car doesn't use lithium-ion batteries, which are commonly found in most electric cars today. Instead, the car is equipped with a hydrogen tank and supercapacitors, which, unlike batteries,
got the flux
have a small
capacitor
weight and work efficiently in extreme temperatures. The Hyperion has a power output of 1,500 horsepower.
That's a lot.
And weighs less than 2,300 pounds.
That's light.
This allows it to accelerate to 60 miles per hour in 2.2 seconds. The car can be refueled in less than 5 minutes, and a full tank is enough for 1,060 miles.
God damn.
This is much more than any modern
Why aren't they
electric car
making
available
this?
on the market today. Look at this incredible car. You might not immediately understand what it is.
I remember when this car came out like a few months ago.
Tony Stark-esque fantasy technology. It's actually a real hypercar called the Hyperion, powered by hydrogen fuel. The car doesn't use lithium-ion batteries, which are commonly found in most available electric cars today. Instead, the car is equipped with a hydrogen tank and supercapacitors, which, unlike batteries, have a small weight and work efficiently in extreme temperatures. The Hyperion has a power output of 1,500 horsepower and weighs less than 2,300 pounds. This allows it to accelerate to 60 miles per hour in 2.2 seconds. The car can be refueled in less than 5 minutes, and a full tank is enough for 1,060 miles. This is much more than any modern electric car available on the market today. Look at this incredible car.
Like, subscribe,
You
share,
might not
thumbs up.
immediately understand what it is. Some sort of Tony Stark-esque fantasy technology.
I'm gonna find more on that car. This is in California.
What if I told you the car of the future might not run on gas or electricity, but on water? That's right.
Now that idea I
Hydrogen-powered
can get
cars are
behind.
here, and they're changing everything. These cars don't just cut emissions. They produce zero pollution, emitting only water vapor. But there's more. Refueling takes minutes, and their driving range is impressive, even surpassing some electric vehicles. With advancements in technology and growing government support, hydrogen cars are becoming more practical and efficient. Will these cars become the mainstream future, or will they remain a niche? Is hydrogen the true alternative to fossil fuels, or will it fall short? Want to know the full story? Watch the full video now. What if I told you the car of the future might not run on gas?
Where's the full video?
Turbocharging versus supercharging. Which one truly boosts performance? Turbochargers use exhaust gases to spin a turbine and generate power, making them efficient and compact. But turbo lag can delay that surge of energy. Superchargers, on the other hand, deliver instant power since they're driven directly by the engine, but they come at the cost of fuel efficiency. So, which should you choose? If you want efficiency and more power, a turbo might be your pick. But if you crave instant acceleration with no weight, a supercharger's the way to go. Want the full breakdown? Watch the full video to discover which one's right for you.
Supposed to be able to click over here and get the full video.
Turbocharging versus supercharging. Which one truly
Like
boosts...
on mine, you could click there and get the full video. And I do that.
What if I told you the car of the future might not run on gas or electricity, but on water? That's right. Hydrogen-powered cars are here, and they're changing everything. These cars don't just cut emissions. They produce zero pollution, emitting only water vapor. But there's more. Refueling takes minutes, and their driving range is
Opposed to
impressive,
electricity
even
that takes
surpassing
hours.
some electric vehicles. With advancements in technology and growing government support, hydrogen cars are becoming...
Introducing Weight Loss by Hims. Personalized prescriptions including GLP-1 inject.
What if I told you there's a car that looks like it just escaped from a retro sci-fi movie, yet is built with cutting-edge hydrogen hybrid tech that could change the future of performance cars forever? What if this car isn't just a concept anymore, but real, moving, and alive with blistering power? Welcome to the revolution that's rewriting the rules of speed, heritage, and innovation. This is the Hyundai Envision 74, and it's not just a car. It's a statement. Welcome to Carwo 786, the ultimate destination for gearheads, speed chasers, and car lovers who want more than just horsepower numbers. They want emotion, innovation, and raw automotive passion.
Why does this guy say it's failing? Let's see what
This
he got to
is
say.
the Toyota Mirai, a hydrogen-powered car that was supposed to be the future.
I wonder if there's any hydrogen. I think they're only in California.
That didn't really happen. With hydrogen fuel becoming more expensive and stations becoming more sparse, customers are furious. They've even threatened to sue Toyota, and hydrogen fuel car sales are down nearly 70% from last year.
We need more hydrogen fueling stations. That's the
We're gonna
problem.
find out how this car works, what it's like to live with one. That is a honker. That's a honker. And decide if this is the car of the future or if it should be left in the past. Welcome to Dope.
I don't like how hydrogen did it. Hydrogen's propelling the car with electric motors. That's stupid. You should propel the car with a hydrogen-powered engine. No electricity. I guarantee you that's an electric motor propelling it.
In Japanese, and it's easy to see why they called it that.
That's stupid. It should be propelled by a piston engine like a V8, like the LS3 guy.
Zero toxic emissions, just pure, clean water. I mean, it's a car that pees out of its butt. And if you've never heard of this car before, you're not alone. In the US, you can only buy the Mirai in California, and in 2023, less than 3,000 were sold here. One reason for that is because of the unique fueling technology, which we'll get to in a bit. But first, let's talk aesthetics.
I wonder if this is still the same hydrogen you can make at your house.
Mirai right here out of the daylight. It reminds me of a Toyota Camry a lot. Very Camry-esque. This is Zachary Deal. You might have seen him in the Cybertruck video. He's going to be with me driving this car today. Let's get into the aesthetics of this thing. I've always thought the second-gen Mirai looks like a deep water fish. The high price of this car might have something to do with how many sensors are on this thing. I've been driving this the past couple days. It's constantly telling me what's going on the road. I feel very safe in it. In fact, there's cameras in the fenders that warn you for cross traffic when you're pulling out of parking lots or onto streets and stuff. Pretty neat. This thing is a jam-packed vehicle full of technology, and it also has a really cool heads-up display. I like a heads-up display. I like that a lot.
Toyota introduced that new JBL speaker and the new Tacomas, but I like the heads-up display better.
Yeah. I just never really liked the big sort of functional grille here. I think with this car being black, it wears it well because it all is just the same color. But when you see the blue ones or white ones of these, I'm just like, it looks a little bad. It looks like working our way around here. On the side, pretty good, large sedan, I would say. The wheels look very aerodynamic. The spokes are quite large.
It looks like a car out of Demolition Man.
It's got a hood release just like every other Toyota, pretty much. Oh, I was actually expecting nothing, but there actually is a fuel cell in the fuel cell vehicle. I'll be honest, the amount of orange wires in here is frankly large. I mean, you're not going to work on this thing. People say the same thing about EVs, like, how are you going to work on yourself? I think that's a valid concern. And when you add in extremely high
too much EV-ish,
an actual fuel cell to the equation, I'm not going to work on that. I'm not going to do that. No, I mean, all right, let's take a look at the inside real quick. On the inside, not too crazy.
It has Apple CarPlay and everything.
It does.
Pretty.
Show me the engine.
Favorite show?
Yes, it is. No, we're not playing their ads.
Hot cars you want. No judgment here, man. Stream your favorite show. Shop online and live securely no matter where you are. With one account, you can protect all
that
your
one should be the
devices
future, not
simultaneously,
that
all
one.
for one price.
That one,
You can choose from thousands of servers worldwide for super fast speeds and access geo-blocked content. If you want to keep your online browsing and YouTube watching to yourself, secure your privacy with it doesn't just have one fuel cell. Oh no, it actually has.
I was explaining it.
The electrons, they're left.
There's how it works.
That's 12.35 pounds of hydrogen between 3 carbon fiber fuel tanks at a super high pressure, 10,000 psi. When you press the accelerator, hydrogen from the fuel tanks and oxygen from the intake are sent on a collision straight to the fuel cell. And it's there where the magic happens. But what is a fuel cell? Well, put very simply, it's 2 plates separated by a sort of filter. Air and hydrogen enter the fuel cell on opposite sides. Hydrogen pairs as H2 into one plate and air into the other. Inside the hydrogen plate is a platinum catalyst. And what that does is strip the electron from the hydrogen atom. The protons are then drawn towards the oxygen in the air on the other side of the cell. To get there, they pass through something called a proton exchange membrane. That's the filter we mentioned earlier, which keeps the electrons out. And this is the most important part, because these electrons are what power the car. As the hydrogen protons travel towards the oxygen, the electrons, they're left behind and are forced out and sent to the PCU, the power control unit, as electrical current, which distributes power to the electric motor and drives the wheel. If the PCU receives more energy than it needs, it sends the excess to a battery so you can use it later. Very, very cool. So the electrons help power the car, but what happened to those hydrogen atoms? The hydrogen meets up with its buddy oxygen to form water, and that's the stuff getting leaked out all over the LA streets.
Oh, that's real nice.
Mirai P, I call it. Glug, glug, glug. That's not water. So how much power does this create exactly? Well, not much. Less than 1 volt gets produced from one of these fuel cells. But the Mirai doesn't just have one fuel cell. Oh no, it actually has 320 separate fuel cells.
What if you put it already made into a
fuel cell
stack. And
What if you have the fuel cell at the gas station and you just put the already made hydrogen directly in your car? That's the way to do it.
Inefficient, but
This sounds like it's making it as it drives.
An internal combustion engine. The Mirai's fuel cell stack operates at over 60% efficiency, compared to 30 to 40% of a modern ICE. Is this the future?
Gas engine.
Well, it could be, but currently there's way more investment in EV technology, which can operate up to 90% efficiency. Science rules.
Feel the power of hydrogen, deal.
Oh!
I will say, on the street, this is a great car.
Well, I am sitting passenger princess, so I mean, I don't really have like a good impression of it at first. I can't really figure out what to do with my legs. Foot placement here is like odd. Maybe it's because
You can adjust your seat if you want.
I know this is as far back and as
Oh,
far down as
really?
it goes. Yeah.
No kidding.
And I'm touching the ceiling if I sit up straight.
Yeah.
The car itself actually does feel kind of big, but the inside feels very small.
It feels pretty small. I just think that's a byproduct of having a hydrogen tank right underneath us here.
Yeah.
And the fuel cell in front of us and more tanks behind us. There's just not going to be a ton of space in here.
Yeah,
The sound is weird.
Ooh.
I think that's fake, but maybe not.
To describe it, it sort of sounds like if you were being transported up into a UFO.
Yes.
It's the same sound you would get.
Yeah. This is a great car truck. Even though it's pretty long, it doesn't feel big.
Oh, wow.
Probably because it's loaded down. I've got really
The
good
one-wheel
view
gang.
out front. I can see everything that's going on right now. So this is a 2023 limited trim Mirai. It's got a modest 100.
They go zooming around everywhere on them one-wheelers. Alright, like, subscribe, share, thumbs up.
9.2 seconds. Now that we know how this thing works, let's get into the biggest difference between this and any other car on the road, which is refueling. First, how far can you get on a tank of hydrogen? Toyota says pretty freaking far, but customers say otherwise. Toyota claims that the Mirai gets between 357 and 402 miles of range. It's pretty good. It's twice my car, and it's much higher than your average EV, which only gets about 250 miles on one charge. Mirai sounds like a pretty sweet deal, if that figure is actually true. There are currently 48 fueling stations in the state of California, mostly clustered in the San Fran and LA areas. Now, that might not sound
We need to
too
get
bad,
those
but
across
to
the
put
whole
that into perspective,
US.
there are over 10,000 regular gas stations in the state. All right, so here's a little app that shows all the hydrogen stations in SoCal. We are located in Inglewood, California. Now, the nearest one to us is right near LAX, but you can see the icon there is red. It's got only, it's closed. Doesn't have any fuel, just closed. So that's not gonna work. What about this one over here in Marina Del Rey? It's offline and only has 5 kilograms of fuel available at their facility. Not very convenient. You'll see similar to these other stations that are close to us. This guy right here, limited.
That's why you gotta get solar panels and windmills to make the electricity to make the hydrogen.
But many of them are broken or could be out of hydrogen on any given day. And what's worse is that you could drive a long way to get to a station that the app says is working, wasting a good amount of your precious fuel in the process, and then it could be closed anyway. Or it might be a massive line. Or the guy who got there just before you had the pump freeze to his car. Yes, that is a thing that can happen. Now, refueling seems like a nightmare and is one of the biggest problems that the Mirai is currently facing. So with all that being said, let's go take a chance on one of these pumps and see how it's
What's the point if it's making the hydrogen in the fuel cell? Maybe that's a different type of fuel cell. I ain't advertising commercials.
Save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first.
Yo, give me them bagels. I know you got them bagels. I need them bagels. I need them bagels. I got my bagels. As he scurries on off with his bagels. Oh, to finish wrapping up the hydrogen.
They're having long wait times here. But dude, when gas stations were first introduced, I'm sure there's only like one in town. You had to wait. Remember how long it took to get a PS5? I mean, it sucks. And I'm sure living with it would also suck and having to wait sometimes. Like in the real world, yes, that is a major
Or a
inconvenience.
PS3,
Let's pull in here before someone else takes it. What is that? Can I take that off? Oh, okay. Exciting. Yeah, that's... What is that? It's like an air chuck. Yeah, it's like a big old air chuck. Connect nozzle to vehicle. Press onto car. Ooh, that's cold. That's like, holy smokes.
So why is there a fuel cell if they're pumping hydrogen directly into the car? I don't get it.
Press. There we go. Dude, it is like a big old air chuck. That's cool. So, press H70.
Oh, the fuel cell turns the hydrogen into electricity. That's stupid.
We actually didn't use too much hydrogen.
Why don't you just use a piston motor fucking propelled by the hydrogen? This is stupid.
We actually would have to find
This is stupid. This is not what I'm talking about doing. This is stupid. This is as stupid as electric cars. The idea is to minimize the amount of batteries and the weight of the car. You have a normal combustion V8, like that guy that did it with the Corvette, run on hydrogen.
That's interesting. I also noticed this is measured in kilograms, which is kind of interesting because, like, obviously everything else is measured in gallons when you come to a gas station. So we got nearly a kilogram, 1 kilogram of hydrogen fuel, $27 now. $27.70 to be exact. Nice and cold, feel that. The chuck cold? Oh, that's ice cold. Is it possible that this freezes to this if it gets cold? That is possible. That is something that Toyota says can happen. I don't know, that was pretty cool.
Well, that might be a problem in the winter.
It feels very secure though. It's like when you go to Europe and the plugs are different. You're like, why does it look like that? It's still the same thing. All right, deal. Are we leaving the fueling process in the past, or do you feel like it's the future? I feel like it's kind of the future. It was super simple. You know,
but not that way.
Aside, that was just like filling up a car.
Ladies, welcome.
Jesse.
That way into the future.
I wouldn't trust her.
Denise said, I'm a victim.
I have receipts. We are exposing it all.
While the Mirai is green and only emits water from the tailpipe, we still need to address something that I feel is pretty overlooked. The environmental impact of getting that hydrogen gas to the pump in the first place. Jerry, take it away.
Jerry, the science dude. All right, so despite being so common, hydrogen is usually combined with other elements when found in nature, like oxygen, to form water. So hydrogen gas has to be produced. Like electricity, the cleanliness of hydrogen depends on how it was sourced. And there are essentially 3 different tiers of hydrogen gas
target
production.
is tiny
Each
as
one
fuck.
is made a different way and is better or worse for their environment.
Small
There's
ass
gray,
target.
blue, and green. Gray hydrogen is the easiest and cheapest way to make hydrogen. It's made by burning fossil fuels, like coal, and it creates a bunch of
that's
carbon
not the way you
monoxide
wanna
in the
make it.
process. Now, I know what you might be thinking, and you might be thinking, that doesn't sound very good for the environment. Well, you'd be right. While the total emissions are lower
That's
than
not the
those
way you
made
want
by
to make
fossil
it. You
fuel
want to make it in the
production,
fuel
it's not
cell,
by much.
not their
And
fuel
it
cell,
almost
the other
negates
fuel
the whole
cell.
clean energy that the Mirai is trying to achieve. And to make things worse, most hydrogen produced right now is gray hydrogen. Blue hydrogen is also produced by messing around with fossil fuels. It's a little cleaner because the carbon emissions are captured and stored underground.
What's up
But
with just
it's
making it
expensive,
with
it's impractical,
electricity?
and it's not very commonly used. Lastly, we have green hydrogen, the best hydrogen. This type is made by splitting water molecules with electricity. in a
Yeah,
process
that's what
called
I'm talking about.
electrolysis.
There we
So here
go,
I have a power
electrolysis.
supply with 2 leads next to some stainless
That's
steel
what I'm
hardware
talking about.
sitting
There we go.
in a
That's how you
salt
want to make the
solution of
hydrogen
water.
like that.
And when I apply some current through that water, I get little bubbles forming. So that electricity is splitting the water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. And that one that's got a lot of bubbles, that's hydrogen. Now imagine if I were to replace this power source with, say, a solar panel. I could essentially get free hydrogen production. All I would need would be the sun and some water. Hooray!
Or a
The problem
windmill
is,
and some
it's very
water.
expensive, but luckily the cost is coming down, albeit slowly. Does Jerry the science guy think hydrogen is the way of the future? Well, I think it could be. You have a lot of sun that's for free, and you got a lot of water that's also for free.
You also got a
You can
lot
get
of wind
solar
that's for
panels
free,
that are efficient
too.
enough. You can make green hydrogen production a really sustainable thing.
And you can blow it.
You get engineers to produce cool engines.
Or you can
that
even
run
use
on
dams.
hydrogen. You get the best of both worlds.
You can use hydropower.
Jerry the science dude.
So the last couple days that I've had with the Mirai have been a pretty interesting experience, but you might be wondering, what do people who actually paid money for these cars think?
To put it mildly, people aren't happy. Besides difficulties with refueling, consumers are finding that the Mirai doesn't get even close to as good of a range as Toyota advertised. Instead of 400 miles on a tank of hydrogen, many people are claiming to only be getting around 280.
This has led many to ask Toyota to buy back their vehicles, and some are even looking to sue Toyota for misleading them. Not a great look at their new futuristic technology.
Another problem people have is the price. The Mirai is not a cheap vehicle. The base price is over $51,000. And the Fire Trim Limited Edition costs an eye-watering $67,000. For 67 grand, you could get a nice M340i. Now, there's a lot of options.
Or you could even get a Hellcat.
For the $67,000 mark that all drawbacks considered with the Mirai, I would probably choose.
Or an LS motor like that one guy got on that truck that I showed at the beginning of the video.
This stuff could cost you around 200 buckaroos. And as we've discussed, the tank will probably not get you as far as a cheaper tank of gasoline. And it's substantially more expensive to run a Mirai than just a pure EV.
Not great.
I
One of the reasons
disagree.
the cost is staying so high for these
And
cars
they're
is
fucking
the
up the
lack
roads.
of adoption. Toyota has described this as a chicken or the egg scenario. It's a common problem technologies face. Consumers aren't buying the Mirai because there are so few fueling stations that they could use. However, no one is making more fueling stations because so few people own these
Then
cars.
you can put your
It's a
own
difficult
fueling
problem,
station
and
on your
one
own
that likely won't
property
be solved
with a
without
solar panel.
major government subsidies and development. Luckily, there's never been a company that takes advantage of government subsidies.
And one way Toyota is trying to combat this is by offering sane purchase incentives. They recently announced a $22,000 incentive for the base model and a $40,000 incentive for the limited edition. That's this one right here. That's a 60% discount. They've also started giving new buyers a $15,000 fuel card, which is supposedly supposed to pay for 30,000 miles of range. But we don't know if that actually covers 30,000 miles of range.
15 grand in fuel is
Gonna do
still
that?
pretty good. I'd like a $15,000 gas card. I wouldn't kick that out of my
Oh,
tank.
damn, I didn't know I was
But
gonna do
at
it
the
that
end of the
much.
day, the people buying these hydrogen vehicles aren't necessarily trying to find the cheapest car possible. They're trying to be on the cutting edge, to be among the first to adopt what could very well be the next big thing in the automotive industry. Perhaps one day, green hydrogen will be easier and cheaper to produce. Hydrogen fuel stations will be more abundant. And
Yeah,
all
let's
this
go.
discussion
Let's show the
will
type of
be
fuel cell I'm talking about.
Until then, the Mirai will continue to be the subject of debate for likely
This guy
years to
did it
come.
on his Corvette.
All right, Deal, here's my question. Is this the future?
There we go. Yeah, no, this is what I'm talking about. What
If you
this
want
guy
to get your
did.
name or number in that,
He's not getting my free advertisement.
So you read all over the internet about people and they run their car on water and hydrogen fuel cells and so on. You're running your car on hydrogen.
You can't run a car on water.
But you're using water.
Right. You use water as the source material. You run electricity through it, and it breaks it down into hydrogen and oxygen, and then you can burn the hydrogen.
All right, so you found a way to store a lot more hydrogen in hydrogen.
They killed this guy.
The
The oil
equivalent of a
companies
full
killed
tank of
him.
gas. You want to fill up your car? How much hydrogen do you need?
Well, I'll show you.
This is how that everybody should be doing it. He's making it on his property on that Corvette. I wonder where that Corvette's at. Look, there's his tanks.
No way.
Yeah, that's the volume it takes to store enough
I think he
hydrogen
gets like
to
350
propel
miles,
this
he
car
said.
close to 400 miles. Just about
400.
what it gets running on a full tank of gas.
Wow.
And it's a lot safer than gasoline.
Really?
Yeah, these tanks can be shot at with incendiary bullets or cut in half.
You can shoot him with his incendiary bullets.
And you can throw a match on them, they just smolder like a cigarette. And you can't say that about a gas tank.
No,
Now,
you
if stored
can't. It'll blow up a gas
just
tank.
compressed gas in a tank, certainly explode,
Yeah.
catch on fire. Here, only the hydrogen that you need is released from the tank. When the tank's heated, it produces hydrogen and the car burns it. So there's never much gaseous hydrogen in the system at any given time.
Wow. So these are the fuel lines? No, what are these?
No, these are this provides power to the heater in the tank and also reads back the temperature at the tank.
This is the way that
Well,
all
when you
car
apply
companies
heat
should be
to
doing it like how
hydride,
this guy did it.
releases hydrogen. So as power is applied to here, it heats the hydride,
Right.
and then the gas comes out the big hoses on the end.
You have 4 hoses. Do they all mix into one big hose or
Yeah.
something?
Because you can only get hydrogen out of hydride at a certain rate with a certain temperature. And a single tank, you can't get it out at the volume you need. So you really just split it into 4 smaller units, heat them separately, and it works just fine.
Okay. Now behind me, Bob is getting ready to blow something up. Bob is blowing up for fun, just because it's cool.
Well, if you just have a use for hydrogen and oxygen or for demonstration purposes, it works just perfect. All you got to do is fill it with water.
That's just regular water, right?
Well, actually, water with a little
With Drano.
citric acid, potassium hydroxide,
Well,
anything like that. The more conductive
Drano
you make the water,
works
the
too.
faster hydrogen will come out.
And each one of these sides is supposed to be hydrogen and oxygen?
Right. One will be hydrogen will bubble up out of one, and oxygen will bubble up out of the other. Remember, water is H2O.
Right.
So when we break the bond of water apart, we'll get twice as much hydrogen gas as we do oxygen.
Oh, so what happens to the water? It just goes away.
Right. It gets converted into...
So each one of these tubes, the water just goes down, but what's left is the gas?
Right.
And there'll be more on this side?
Yes.
And that's the hydrogen side.
Exactly. And that's the negative.
Oh, so it matters which way you hook these up. So you got to hook up positive to what is... The positive's going to make...
Positive will make the oxygen.
This is
And
what
the
we all
negative
gotta do, what they're
will make
doing.
the hydrogen.
Okay.
So we've just connected it there.
Right.
And just by turning it on.
Voila,
start
hydrogen. You can make
pouring up
hydrogen at your house. You don't even need a fueling station.
So those bubbles...
That's
are-
why the
well,
oil
they're
companies
not
killed
the same.
this
So
guy.
These are hydrogen bubbles and those are oxygen bubbles.
Right.
And this is wider. There's more of them.
Right. You can see it's really...
Why is there more? Oh, H2.
Right.
yeah.
It's twice as much.
Hey, that actually makes sense.
So I'll close it off so it saves,
Right.
seals the gas in, and
Right.
then you'll see it'll start filling up.
Oh, we don't have to go away overnight? This will do it while we're watching?
Yeah, it'll be relatively quick. And what we'll do is take a little sample of the hydrogen gas and light it.
Right.
And you can see that.
What are these? You just have electrical current going to a piece of foil?
Well, it's a piece of platinum foil, and the reason you need platinum in there is because it's very corrosive to a metal for electrolysis to occur. I mean, it's really ripping the atoms of the metal apart, but platinum is highly resistant to corrosion. Now, this is a slow method.
Right.
And it consumes a fair amount of electricity. Now, if the electricity is being produced from solar panels or
Well, this is back in
generators,
like
it
the
doesn't cost you
1980s
anything,
when
so
they
who
made this
cares?
video.
But still, you don't want to wait
Or 1990s,
hours,
early
and
90s.
hours and hours to refill a vehicle. You want something that can produce hydrogen at a fairly quick rate. So let's go ahead and extract some of this.
Okay. Look at that.
Wow. So there's
Wow,
power
Bob.
of hydrogen. You can see just from water, something exploded.
So this is the same thing that was inside the lab.
Yeah, that was a small.
See, he's
tabletop
even got
model.
like
This
a
is large
fucking,
industrial version, essentially,
like a
which
a
connects
gas
right to the water
generator, but he
main,
turned it into a
Right.
hydrogen
And
generator.
produces a much higher volume.
The
of
water
hydrogen.
main, your
Water
garden
main.
hose.
Right, yeah, garden hose. You can plumb it in like you connect your
Garden hose.
dishwasher. Or just connect it to a garden hose.
Right.
And it's
Just
powered
connected to a
by
garden hose.
either solar array, solar panels, which convert sun into electricity, or a wind turbine, takes the wind, converts it to electricity, or any other way. But the idea is just to use complete green energy. I like to run this one on solar. New Mexico gets a lot of sunlight, so that's really all there is to it. You connect it to a water line, plug it into your solar panel, and open the water line. It starts producing hydrogen, and when it has a sufficient quantity in there, let the hydrogen out, and you just leave it plugged into your car overnight.
Now, this is the same as those other two tubes, right?
Right.
Hydrogen and oxygen. Or
Right.
whichever one is.
And the oxygen we have no use for, so we just vent off into the air. And the hydrogen...
It's very nice of you. I'm sure the Earth would be proud.
Well, it could use all the oxygen it can get. So
Right.
the hydrogen...
See, this is the way they need to do it, not that way that stupid Toyota whatever was doing it.
The water pressure, like a syringe, it pushes it right into the tank.
Exactly. Well, there's the standard gasoline fill.
They converted it.
Also, there's a hydrogen in it, which is click on, leave it on overnight, and as the generator makes hydrogen, it compresses it in there at a nice slow rate, and the tanks become full over a period of about 8 hours or so. There are little points here and there that do have to be addressed. I mean, when it comes right down to it, you don't want fuel tanks inside the vehicle. This is a prototype, so ideally, eventually, you'd want the tanks outside, just like a fuel tank is. The second thing is you're dealing with...
Or in the center, like how that...
an unusual gas. Hydrogen not only is lighter than air, but also it burns with an invisible flame and is completely odorless, which is not a good thing.
Well, we can add an odor
propane
to it.
is too. They add a, you know, that pretty strong scent to it. And you can't really do that with hydrogen, because if you add any kind of chemical to it, the hydride has a problem storing it. It can poison the hydride and lose its ability to hold hydrogen.
I guess that won't work adding a
scent.
scent.
Needs to be addressed. You have a hydrogen leak and somehow the gas
Well,
is
this
getting
is in the
in car, you
90s. I'm
never
sure
know.
that we got technology now that can get around that.
You go to light a cigarette,
Maybe.
there could be an explosion in a case like that. So
That's not good.
you need things like a hydrogen gas detector, so it'll let you know
Yeah, there we go.
if there is a hydrogen leak. But I mean, it's still an extremely safe system.
Why can't everybody do this? I mean, gas is $5 a gallon.
Right.
It's terrible.
$5 a gallon in the 90s?
Killing people all over the world for oil. And this, you're driving a car.
$5 a gallon in the 90s? What the
You
fuck?
can convert any other car.
Yeah, unless I'm sure there are cars that have some technical problems. But yeah, essentially.
Convert any car, you hear that?
The whole problem to it is the material in the hydride. The hydride itself, one of the main components of it, is classified as a weapon material, and it can only be used in thermonuclear weapons. And because, even though it's not a dangerous material, explosive or anything by itself, just because it's used within those nuclear weapons that are obviously secret and components thereof, but because it's used in those, it can't be used for any other civilian purposes. So you can't even purchase the material, which is why we have to make it.
You made it.
Yeah.
But isn't that, don't you need big particle accelerators and things?
So that was the one loophole. You can make the material, you can't buy it. So
Where's the particle? You have a particle accelerator?
yeah, so all you have to do is build a particle accelerator, and you can make all the hydrate you need.
Well, he's making all the hydrate he needs right there.
The way right now is just getting that
Why do you need a
material,
particle
that
accelerator?
hydride material.
Right.
And the reason you can't is because
It's a weapon material.
But there's nothing dangerous about it.
No,
It
it's
won't
used
blow
as a
up.
weapon. Right.
Well, beryllium's used as a weapon too. You know.
Right.
Gasoline, a fucking tank of gas can be used as a weapon just as much, I would
So we
think.
found a metal. We have a material that we can store the hydrogen in.
We have a material we can safely store.
Oh, wow,
and
nuclear.
a sufficient quantity to replace the gas tank on a car. So we can provide enough hydrogen
Oh, that line right there, oh no.
to drive a car as you normally would. Use green energy to make the hydrogen, either solar or wind power. There's a medium to store it in. That's it. Both problems are handled. All the other little...
If they were doing this back in the 90s, why can't we do this damn near like 40 years later?
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. If we had just a fraction of what the oil companies are wallowing
We
in
had
right now.
the budget of one day in Iraq, this entire system would be available to everybody.
Let's see. Let's just go that. No. I ain't doing no advertisements.
here. In this video, we're going to investigate the claims that a man by the name of Bob Lazar has invented a car that can run on water. Now, if you want a car that runs on water, this is actually very easy. Just add a water tank to your car.
But that's defeats the purpose. You're polluting with the coal.
Steam. Use steam to drive the pistons.
That's totally different.
Of course, I'm joking. Please don't do this to your vehicle. But this is a really interesting science fiction idea that's been around a long time. That water itself should be and can be a fuel source for
you could do cars.
the godfather of science fiction writing, Jules Verne, he actually wrote.
We're not going to listen to this point, Dexter. We're going to listen to people who actually did it. Cars that run on half hydrogen, half gas. I got huge improvements. I had an O2 Prism. I did it. And I got major. I got like I was getting damn near. I went from like 28 miles per gallon highway. I was getting like 58 to like 60 miles per gallon highway. In city, I went from like, and it was on only the 2002s got good gas mileage of the Chevy Prisms. The 2003s and the 2001s. They got way lower than what I'm saying, miles per gallon. I don't know what it is about them 2002 Chevy Prisms, but they get great miles per gallon. But the improvement, I'm sure, would be the same on the other years also. But the city went from like 25 miles per gallon, maybe, to about like 35 miles per gallon. Let's see if I can show you the car where they got the setup of half hydrogen, half gas with the fuel cell. Ah, see? This is what you do right here. You convert your car to run. Only problem is you got to change your internal combustion parts because over time it'll cause corrosion. And you got to know how to use it.
But they have a reputation of being horrible gas customers. And I can actually attest to that. I did the mileage test on my truck and found out that I was getting 13.6 miles per gallon highway, which as far as I'm concerned is absolutely unacceptable. Last year alone, I spent $11.4 bajillion on gas.
Bajillion? I don't think that's a real number.
Up, but it sure felt like it. Well, I did something about it, and now I'm getting 56% better gas mileage, which translates to 56% savings in my pocket.
You gotta know how to use it, though. That's the only thing. If you don't know how to use it,
my truck is now a water hybrid. Check this out. Well, technically, it's a hydrogen-on-demand hybrid. What we have here is distilled water with 1 teaspoon of baking soda used as a catalyst. We tickle that water with 12 volts of electricity, and what it does is it separates the hydrogen from the oxygen. That gas is then sent into the combustion chamber, where I was formerly getting a 30% burn. That's right, in all of your gas vehicles, you only get a 30% fuel burn, which translates to 70% of your fuel, of your gas, comes out of your tailpipe. Now, however, I'm getting a 100% burn in my combustion chamber, which means a few benefits. Number one, after a couple hours of running hydrogen,
what's up, Rascal? Up to no good?
Out of my engine.
How you
my
doing? Ali Osmar, what's up?
I can't even hear it. My torque increased, my horsepower increased significantly.
Yeah, mine did too.
Right now I'm getting 56%.
I had metal cylinders on mine though. Mine was metal cylinders, and it had like circular metal cylinders, like 6 of them. Each one was a positive, negative, positive, negative.
Actually, it can't blow. Remember, you're not storing hydrogen. This is hydrogen on demand. Since it's hydrogen on demand, there's never
This is the future. This is what I'm talking about doing, not what those other videos we're doing.
In the case of an accident. If you do happen to get in a car accident, you've got water and broken glass, and that's it. This is a 100%.
This is the way to do it.
Now, after about 3,000 miles, your water's going to end up looking like this. It gets dirty, and this is what's referred to as blooms. It's a byproduct of the distilled water, the baking soda catalyst, and the electricity running through the system. Now, the important thing is this water is not toxic to you or the environment, so you can literally pour it anywhere, and you're not going to be doing any damage to the environment. Distilled water, which you can make, you don't necessarily have to buy it. I just bought it for ease. This is your baking soda catalyst. You're going to use 1 teaspoon per jar of distilled water.
And it works.
After the conversion, my emissions went down to almost 0. However, I'm completely offsetting those.
But the thing is, you got to know how to use it.
Now my tailpipe is pumping all kinds of oxygen back out into the atmosphere. The great thing about HowToSaveFuel.com is the fact that Alex Rivera installs this in your car with a team of certified mechanics, so you don't have to worry about it. And they guarantee their work, so if anything ever goes wrong with the system, they're going to fix it. And if I ever want to go back to 100% gas and not use the hydrogen system, all I have to do is very simply pull the fuse.
I'm an absolute believer in this hydrogen on-demand conversion system for cars, and I'm an absolute believer in howtosavefuel.com. Thank you guys. You made a huge difference in my life and in my impact on the environment.
This guy did a generator. Stamp pinches.
Hemos modificado este motor para que
What the
funcione
fuck
solo
is this
con
guy
agua.
saying? We're in America, bro.
Pero ¿funcionará? Vamos a verlo.
But this is what I'm talking about, this.
Empezaremos con un...
On this channel, we have talked about hydrogen-fueled internal combustion engines a whole lot. This is a technology I really believe in. You see, if we could efficiently produce and safely store hydrogen, then converting the existing internal combustion engine cars into hydrogen-fueled vehicles can give us a way to make the 1.2 billion internal combustion engine powered vehicles on our planet more green. I mean, most of us don't have the money to buy a new car. So if we could convert our old car, it would be
fucking
ideal.
Gandhi.
So is it possible to convert any internal combustion engine to run on hydrogen? Well, let's get into it. So what is needed for your car to run? Air, fuel and spark. Easy. We are just switching the one fuel for the other, right? Well, no, it's quite a bit more complicated.
This idea is not what I'm
You see,
talking
the
about.
properties
That's
of
idea.
hydrogen
That's
is
idea I'm
very
talking
different
about.
to other fuels. Some of the properties are good and some not so much. Let's start with the good. Hydrogen has a wide flammability range in comparison with all other fuels. This means that hydrogen can be combusted in an internal combustion engine over a wide range of air-fuel mixtures. This means you can... Diesel-powered vehicles have long been the fuel of choice among four-wheel drives and commercial vehicles. Diesel
There
technology...
we go. This is what I'm talking about. Doing it like this.
Making fuel from water is extremely...
Sorry, we lost battery power. Continuing on.
our engine and double our mileage under certain circumstances. Now, I'm running a V8 350 and have been for over 30,000 miles. It all starts with the wiring. You get some number 10 gauge wire to conductor and run it to a switch which you put under your dash. I'm using a regular 120
That's how you control
volt
the
light
amount of
switch,
hydrogen, kind of like a carbureted
about
car.
20 amps at 125 volts. I'm only running at about 13.8 volts DC. The switch is not worn out or burned up yet.
Sorry,
It
we
seems
lost
to work
battery
flawlessly.
power.
This is the ground wire that I connect to my frame. If my battery was over here, I would have put it to my battery just for convenience. Now,
We
I'm gonna
did.
set the jug
I did
right
this.
here next to
I
the
had one
master
of this
cylinder.
done
I
on one
just
of my
happen to have room
cars.
for a gallon jug.
Huge.
This is the vacuum
I got
line that goes to your
speed
carburetor.
improvements and
This
gas
is the
mileage
master cylinder
improvements.
here that is your brakes, controls your braking.
Only problem is in the
So
long
we're
run it'll
going to
rust
take
your
advantage
engine, I
of the
think.
vacuum pressure of the engine right here where it's strongest. Can get like 16 inches or more of vacuum at certain times. And we're going to set a pad here and install the jar right here. We're going to put about 3/4 full on the water. And I've already
Right,
added
there's the
some baking
beaker.
soda to it as an electrolyte. Now this is a very fancy cell element design.
That's
I'll be
actually a really shitty made
disillusioned by
one.
how fancy this looks, because very simply you can get 3 faceplates of high-grade stainless.
The one
some
I had was way
Teflon
better than that.
nuts and bolts, and for about $5 you can make this. You have notched it for the wires. Put the positive in the middle, put the negatives on the outside, and boom, you've got it. I've just made a more advanced version. You run the wires through the lid
I had a way more advanced version than that.
like this. I'm going to install this down here, and we're going to seal this up. And we're going to show you how this thing produces gas. This is the positive wire which I run to the alternator. I've installed a 30 amp auto reset fuse on both sides, positive and negative. So I have redundant fuse protection in case of current overload. And the fuel cell will occasionally pull too much power. We want it to automatically shut off. We connect to the alternator because we have a lot more
fuck is he playing that
magnetic
music?
field right there, much more energy available than connecting it to the battery. So I highly recommend that you connect it exactly as you see in this fashion. This is the dryer jug. It's just another jug that's sealed off that has a particular way of plumbing. One long hose which goes to the fuel cell, the other hose barely in the jug which goes to the vacuum system of the engine. You put it down in the jug, any overflow is automatically sucked back up into the other fuel cell. We've used poster putty, which is liquid Teflon, as a sealant. It is the most recyclable thing you can use. You can use it over and over and over. It's poster putty is the brand name for it. Don't endorse any products, but I don't have any choice. It's really the best thing you can use. Plastic hoses is what we use on our vacuum pressure fuel cell. It is part of the thermodynamics of the entire process. Again, poster putty placed around the hoses on the vacuum pressure fuel
That's actually
cell.
a good
and
idea.
The vacuum will suck into the small crevices and will not allow leakage. It has been working flawlessly for many years on my vehicle. I have over 30,000 miles
God damn.
running on the vacuum pressure fuel cell so far.
I don't know if he's got any internal
My
engine rust.
performs incredibly well. It's a little tacky at times. When it gets hot, it will.
Cause like that's putting water
really
in your
seal well.
piston.
This shows you some of the production in the vacuum state. That's a lot of hydrogen oxygen gas. It's enough to actually cool the water. There's 25 amps right now flowing through there, and we want to run it as close to 30 amps as possible. You can see a tremendous amount of gas. It will actually produce even more hydrogen and oxygen gas as the engine gets going, the RPMs are high, and the magnetic field is coming off of that alternator. Baking soda, Arm & Hammer,
That's
highly
right, that is
recommend
what
it.
you
It's
use,
the only
baking
one
soda.
that won't foam up. Cheap stuff, you'll end up with foaming in the water, and you don't want foamy water. It's going to have some nasty buildup eventually, but don't worry, it's not a problem in the vacuum pressure fuel cell. The extra dryer jar in front takes care of anything that would fly into the engine. It's a very interesting system and has been used for many, many miles. A lot of people sell this for hundreds of dollars. You can build it yourself for about $55 in parts. Most of that is fuses and wires. And it is important that your alternator is able to handle the current. It will pull about 29 amps. So you have to make sure that your alternator's in good condition. When you get this thing hooked up right, you should see water coming out of your exhaust. As it gets going, the amount of water coming out could be tremendous. Depending on your engine, if you have any carbon buildup or nasty stuff in your engine, it will generally blow out right onto the ground in front of your eyes, steam cleaning the engine. This is definitely a technology that has potential. We hope that you take advantage of it. Thanks for watching.
I like that one. See it making it in there? Like that. That's the way I'm talking about doing it, just like that with them beakers. See, no electric motor there, no other fucking bullshit. Hydrogen straight into the engine, that's what I'm talking about doing. I'm not talking about having some stupid electric motor fucking do all the other goofy shit. There we go. There's another type. Yeah, obviously they want to sing in Spanish and ruin the video. That sucks. Hold on, I'm trying to find something better. Ah, here's a good one. This is kind of shitty made, but whatever. Nakwambia kitu moja. So this is the electrolyte. This is where you keep the water. So this is bubbling. You get hydrogen. And this does work. Yeah, it's bubbling. So that's hydrogen being purified. Then this pipe leads it to the engine. You can inside the box. Hey, everyone comment who wants to see me get one of these and see it installed on my vehicle and see how much improvement I get. Hit thumbs up and comment if you guys want to see me install one of these on my vehicle and see how much of an improvement I get. I ain't gonna do a shitty one like this. I'm gonna do a good one with actual like fucking titanium walls and shit. That was kind of like fucking bootlegged.
Morning guys, here we go. This is our new car. I put the setup and our baby.
It works best on 4 cylinders, I think.
Okay, bye. Morning guys, here we go. This is our new car.
I mean, I don't know. We only did it on a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder. My dad didn't know how to use it. You gotta know how to do it. You gotta adjust it during the, if it's cold out, warmer out. There's 2 little gauges that you use to like turn down the gas, and you override your gas, and you can turn down your gas and turn up the hydrogen, or turn down the gas, or turn up the gas and turn up the hydrogen. You gotta just figure out, you gotta play with it. I'm sure somebody already made a fucking computer system that could do it, but someone put a patent on it and hid that technology. This HHO dry cell. What the fuck? Why does that guy look so weird? He looks like a mannequin. What's a dry cell? The fuck is that? I don't like clowns. Whatever they're advertising for, I really don't like it.
To add on to your car that will save you 35% in fuel efficiency, and it only costs $200. Even better, it claims it can increase horsepower and extend the engine life of your vehicle. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but we're about to find out.
I don't think it'll
testing
extend your
out the
engine
hydrogen
life.
generator. In the first test, we'll see if the HHO generator improves 0 to 60 performance.
It does.
Then we'll take a look inside the engine to see if it helps clean the combustion chamber.
I
Then we'll
don't
see
know
if it
about
improves
that.
fuel efficiency by 35% using this fuel-injected generator. According to the manufacturer, lowers fuel consumption up to 35%. Significant reduction in emissions.
That's true.
Extended engine life. Increased torque and greater power. Stronger and
Well, actually, you can't pass your emissions test with it hooked up. You gotta disconnect it to pass your emissions test.
smoother acceleration. We're going to test that. HHO stands for oxyhydrogen, which is a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. I'll just refer to it as hydrogen throughout the video. The price of the hydrogen generator plus shipping was about $200. Just like all the other videos in this channel, I always purchase all the products tested in this channel and never accept free items or any sort of compensation from companies. This kit includes a dry cell hydrogen generator, a couple of rubber hoses. This tank will hold the water and the electrolyte solution. According to the parts list, this is called the bubbler. The kit also comes with a bunch of wire connectors. It comes with 2 different strands of wire. It comes with potassium hydroxide, which serves as an electrolyte that we'll be using with the water. Finally, some threaded fittings for the water tank, bubbler, and hydrogen generator. A quick look at the diagram.
You
of how
can
this is
get your
supposed to
own
set up. The water canister
Drano.
sends water to the hydrogen generator, and the hydrogen generator makes a gas which goes back to the water canister. From the water container, the oxyhydrogen gas goes into the bubbler and then into the engine. Before we install the dry cell in a vehicle, I need to add the wiring to the hydrogen generator. The kit came with both gray and black wiring. I'll use the gray wire for the positive and black for the negative. The kit came with all the connectors I needed to install the
That's
kit.
interesting
I'm going to
that
cut off the piece
LS3
that's about
motor
4 inches in
works
length
on.
and add a connector for the generator. I'll also go ahead and splice the wires together. I went ahead and added a connector to the black wire. I'll cut a 4-inch piece of black wire and connect it
And
to
yes,
the
this
hydrogen
does
generator.
work.
I'm going to go ahead and splice the 2 black wires
I
together.
don't know about
the
his
kit did
system.
not come with the Teflon tape, which I highly recommend using if you want to install one of these kits just to make sure that there aren't any leaks. I'm going to attach the 2 fittings to the hydrogen generator. All of the threaded fittings are the same shape and size. I'll add the 3 hose fittings to the water tank as well. We'll definitely want a nice tight seal on all the connectors where the hydrogen gas and water will leak out of the tank. A threaded plug goes in the bottom of the bubbler. A threaded hose fitting goes into the side as well as the top of the bubbler as well. A plastic hose attaches to the bubbler. Now that we've attached all the fittings, let's go ahead and install this on the vehicle. I'll be using this kit on a 2003 Chevrolet Suburban with a 5.3-liter V8. I'm just going to have this kit on the vehicle for about a week, so I'm just going to use some cable ties to make this quick and easy to uninstall when it's time to remove the kit. Once we're done removing the kit, we'll do some testing with the generator. The water tank has to be placed a little bit higher up in the generator so the gravity will move the water to the generator. The hose from the top of the water tank attaches to the top of the bubbler. Now that the bubbler's in place, I'll install the non-return valve. We definitely want to make sure we have this valve pointed in the right direction where hydrogen won't pass from the bubbler to the engine. I'll go ahead and remove part of the air intake so I can drill a hole in it. I'm going to go ahead and remove the plastic shavings from the intake so we don't try running the engine on plastic as well. The final step is to connect the rubber hose that's going from the bubbler into the air intake. Unfortunately, the instructions that came with the hydrogen generator just aren't very clear. Top contact goes to the hydrogen generator. The contact on the right is the one that's going to go to our ignition switch. The one on the bottom goes to the battery. And finally, the one on the left is the ground. I'll run the ground wire directly from the hydrogen generator to the frame. For the wire that's running from the positive battery terminal, I'll install the inline fuse that came with the kit. This is the wire that runs to the hydrogen generator. I'm going to remove the fuse for now since I'm attaching the wire to the battery. I'll run the ground wire from the relay to the frame. We don't want the hydrogen generator running when the vehicle is running. So the last step is to find a spot in the fuse box that we can tap into that's only hot when the engine is running. The kit did not come with the red insulated wire, so you're probably going to need a little bit of extra wiring if you decide to buy one of these kits. With the ignition switch in the on position, 12 volts, so the wiring should be good to go. I'll add 40 grams of potassium hydroxide to 1 liter or 1 quart of water. The more electrolyte that's added to the water, the more amperage is created. This also causes more gas to be produced. However, if you add too much electrolyte in the system, it'll eat up the generator plates a little too fast and cause the water to become dark. I have the ignition in the on position and the generator is making gas. Before I fire up the engine, let's take a look at the spark plug in the top of the piston to establish our baseline. We'll check back after I've driven the vehicle several hundred miles to see if there's any decrease in the amount of carbon that's on the spark plug or the piston. The starting miles is 266,978. I pulled the fuse on the HHO setup. So let's go ahead and see how it performs at 87
got a lot of
octane,
miles,
going up a
holy
slight
shit.
grade into a headwind.
You got hella miles on that. 266,000 miles? God damn. They don't make cars like that no more, nor
Okay,
trucks.
10.3 seconds to get to 60, heading south. I'll go ahead and turn around and we'll see if we can do any better on the second attempt. We did slightly better at 9.6 seconds heading north. I'll go ahead and install the fuse and we'll see if we can gain some speed with the HHO. So 10.3 seconds heading south is the time to
show
be.
that.
Ten seconds, so it is a little bit faster. So 9.6 seconds heading north is the time to be. 9.9 seconds, so it's a little bit slower this time with HHO. I'll turn the vehicle around and we'll try this one more
he's doing
time.
it
to
with
see if we can do
hydrogen and
even better.
without.
10 seconds is the time to be.
So one way is going with the hydrogen turned off, the other way is going with it turned on.
Okay, 10.4 seconds is a little bit slower than the original run without HHO. I'll go ahead and turn around and we'll see if we can beat 9.6 seconds.
Fuck about the seconds. You want fucking, miles per
9.8
gallon.
seconds. So the vehicle was a little bit faster without HHO 3 out of 4 times.
But you're
Other
gonna
than
get
adding a
further
little bit
gas
more drag to
mileage.
the alternator, the HHO really didn't seem to help or hurt things too much. We've driven the vehicle about 250 miles on HHO, so let's take a look inside the engine and see
God
everything
damn,
looks.
that's got a
I
lot
really
of
can't tell
miles.
any difference from before using HHO in the spark plug or the carbon deposits on the piston. It all looks about the same. Let's test fuel efficiency using a fuel-injected generator. To establish our baseline, I'll just run the engine on gasoline and not HHO. Before testing it though, I'm going to go ahead and warm up the engine for about 5 minutes.
Now you gotta do that if you install it on your car too. You gotta let your engine warm up, especially if it's winter. Otherwise you're gonna be playing with it the whole time as you're driving.
The engine is fully warmed up, so I'll go ahead and turn off the fuel supply and let the engine run out of fuel. The engine is out of fuel. So let's start our test and see how long the engine will run without HHO. I'll go ahead and fill the 500 milliliter fuel cell with non-ethanol gasoline and then open up the fuel line. As soon as the engine is started, I'll go ahead and power up 5 halogen lights to place a load on the engine. We'll see how long the engine will run until it's completely out of fuel. The outlet on the left is powering up 2 halogen lights and using close to 930 watts. The outlet on the right is powering up 3 halogen lights and is using close to 1,450 watts. We'll see how this changes when we power up the HHO unit. We're 9.5 minutes into the test and the fuel cell is a little more than halfway used up.
Put the bucket. No, not a commercial.
Mommy, I have to go potty.
We're just over 14 minutes and the fuel level is about to run out. Once the fuel cell is used up, it takes about 2 minutes for the fuel inside the fuel line as well as the fuel pump to be totally used up. The generator is out of fuel at 19 minutes and 46 seconds.
Would you call
Before we
that
kick off
running
the
on
test,
fumes?
Let's take a look at the spark plug in the top of the piston. We'll see if the HHO cleans up the engine and the spark plug. The spark plug is pretty clean, but there's definitely plenty of opportunity for the HHO to clean up the top of the piston. Let's set up the HHO kit on the generator, and we'll see if it can beat 19 minutes and 46 seconds. Since I've already shortened the clear hose that came with the kit, I've got some air hose that I'll be using for the generator.
By the way, just like my videos, if you want to fast forward past the slow spots, just hold your finger down on the front part of the screen and it'll speed up the video.
HHO gas and I feed the generator since the generator engine is a lot smaller than the Chevrolet Suburbans. I'll measure out 10 grams of potassium hydroxide and mix it with 2 cups of water or 500 milliliters.
In other words, Drano.
So let's test this setup just to make sure it's working properly. Okay, the power converter is using about 5.5 watts. I'm going to connect up the fuel cell, open up the fuel line, and we'll start the test. With the HHO, the engine sounds exactly the same and seems to be running just fine. I really can't tell any difference.
Ali Osmar, you are here, okay. He'll be back. What's up, Shivity? See, this is what I'm talking about, running hydrogen like this.
8.5 minutes into the test,
not those other videos I was showing in the beginning.
35% fuel savings isn't looking very promising at this point. The engine temperature seems to be pretty much the same as well. At 13 minutes, the fuel burn rate seems pretty similar as it was without the HHO. The fuel cell is empty and now the engine is using the fuel that's inside the fuel line as well as a fuel pump. 19 minutes and 46 seconds is the time to beat. And it's lights out for the generator at 19 minutes and 37 seconds or 9 seconds less run time. So the generator wasn't hurt too much by the HHO, but it didn't help it either. I'm really curious to see what happens if we double the concentration of electrolyte and see how much that changes the results.
Drano.
So I'll add 30 grams of potassium hydroxide to 2 cups of water.
So in other words, it's putting more Drano in
then I'll pour
there.
the contents into the HHO tank. We doubled the amount of electrolyte and the energy consumption also doubled. So the amount of HHO should be about twice the amount compared to the last test. The HHO system definitely seems to be making more gas. The engine still sounds exactly the same, but I can't tell any difference in performance. The fuel cell is completely empty and the generator should shut down in under 2 minutes. 19 minutes and 46 seconds is the time to beat. During the last test when we used HHO, the generator came up 9 seconds short. And it's 19 minutes and 25 seconds this time, which is 21 seconds less run time compared to not using HHO. Unfortunately, HHO hurt fuel efficiency, but let's look inside the engine to see if it helped clean it up. Looking at the amount of carbon buildup is pretty subjective, but everything seems to look about the same as before HHO. I was really hoping to see the oxygen hydrogen generator kit deliver great results, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. If you've used one of these kits before and received good results, or maybe not so good results, I'd love to read your comments in the comments section of the video. So I got huge improvements. All the videos on this channel, including this one, are viewer suggested. So thanks for watching the video. Please take care, and I look forward to next time.
That's the way to go, though. I got huge improvements. You gotta know how to use it. I got huge improvements on mine. Fancy. It was on a Chevy Prism 4-cylinder. Huge, major gas improvements. I wish I made a video on it. When I did it was like 15 years ago. Really, I might have it on one of my old cell phones that I gotta find a battery for and a charger that, or get it fixed to make it turn on. Let's see here. Here's another good one. Oh no, that's the same truck we already saw.
Making fuel from water is extremely easy, much more easy than they would like you to believe.
It is, and it helps a lot.
Electricity
Your gas
and
miles if you know how to use it.
About 29 amps. We found that we can inject this in the state of vacuum into our engine and double our mileage under certain circumstances.
That is true.
V8 350.
I don't know about the power, but your miles per gallon.
Miles. It all starts with the wiring. You get some number 10 gauge wire to conductor and run it to a switch which you put under your dash. I'm using a regular 120 volt.
I get a lot of terrific ideas from those of you leaving comments. In fact, I read thousands of comments each week looking for future video ideas. One of the most interesting video ideas I've received to date is to see if I can get a small engine to run off of nothing other than just gas vapors. It just seems to me that if this idea will actually work, car manufacturers...
There used to be more videos on it. They took some of them down. There used to be a lot more videos on here. A lot of them disappeared. Gas generator in the hydrogen. I think I've seen this one.
I mean, the reason he's got two is he couldn't fit one big jar in there.
Two's better. Shit, put three if you can.
The plan I got up from Milo Madsen.
And yes, this does work. Like I said, I did it on my car. It works.
Okay. And you can see on this one, I've been driving it for, I don't know.
Oh, that's a nice setup. I like that setup.
Yeah. You can see the amount of corrosion that's happening on there.
See, it goes positive, negative, positive, negative. Each opposite one. So.
So I don't know. We'll see how long they last.
This is positive. That's negative. That's I mean, it might be reversed, but each other one, each gap is a positive, negative, positive, negative. And it sends the electrical current, and it creates the hydrogen.
You don't have a key. So the corrosion on the wires doesn't seem to affect the direction of the gas.
And what sort of effect do you think has that had, like just as an estimate on mileage or gas?
I'm getting about 33 miles per gallon. That's kind of, I still think in miles per gallon, but it's about a 30% increase in this car.
Oh yeah.
In this, which is a Taurus wagon, which is a very heavy car.
Yeah.
I was, when I first tested it, I got, I think I got around 12 liters per 100 kilometers. And on my first trip, I was down to 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers.
Significant difference.
Sure. I think the best one is to do it on an LS engine. According to what that one guy was doing, seems like LS. This guy did it on a Camry. I like that hypercar. That hypercar is fucking sick. This one. It was like a jet coming out the back. Oh, here's we go. This is from 14 years ago.
Really are the best,
Oh,
and since
wait.
they're acrylic paint.
Now listen to them. Hold on.
Coils going down. And these now, we've added 16 coils. I figure the more electrolysis going on in there, the more hydrogen we
Right.
can produce.
And do 2 or 3 of them.
Creating hydrogen and injecting it into the gas. And what we do is we get from one to the other to the other.
So that's the way to do it. Put as many as you can in there.
Right into the intake manifold. The week we've had it in, we went from about 9.8 miles per gallon to 13.3 miles per gallon.
Might not sound like a lot, but that could mean 100 more miles per tank on this one truck.
That makes your engine run smoother, cleaner, and leaner. I immediately found that the car ran much better, and I could use regular gas, which I could never use.
As far as maintenance, you add distilled water
14 years
every 6
ago.
months, and then you have to clean the coils. If you're mechanically and electrically inclined, you might be able to get on the internet and do it yourself.
I'm gonna put one of these on all my cars again.
Contraption will cost you about $995.
It's way more today. Cause you gotta get that one material, platinum, that doesn't rust. That's the way to do it, though. See if there's any more on here. No, hold on. Damn it. That's the way you want to do it, though. It's the ones that I'm showing now, not the ones I was showing in the beginning of the video. I got to make a whole other video where I show the right way to do it in the beginning of the video instead of the wrong way, the stupid way that they were doing in the beginning of this video with having an electric battery charge the other shit. I like that red truck, though. Ah, here we go. This is important. Oh, wait. Listen to this ad. Well, this is the way you want to do it right here. Look at this. I got 4 fuel cells.
If you've been following the channel,
And this does work, like I said. Just gotta know how to use it and do it on the right type of cars, like a 2002 Chevy Prism. But it might work good on an LS engine too, a Chevy LS.
gas. Now, it does have a few issues in regards to efficiency.
And temperature, you gotta adjust it for temperature.
So that's what this video today is all about, is how I have converted the engine to run hydrogen gas, and then maybe later on I'll do another video on the fuel tank in the boot. So you can replicate this build exactly. So if you're new to the channel, or just something like watch this video, if you like what you see, please subscribe. That lets me know that you're enjoying what you see. So let's jump straight into it.
I want to do this to all my cars again.
Very cheap. About £500, and then the aim was to convert that to run on hydrogen gas. The first thing I did was buy a ECU, which controls the ignition timing to die, so I used a Milius ECU from Motorsport Electronics, and that was very, very easy to use. In total that cost about £350, and it was very easy to wire in, and that controls my ignition timing.
You're gonna show it running or something?
Standard ignition coils, and you run a separate ignition coil for it, or you remove the old ignition coil and you add a new ignition coil, and that controls the spark for your ignition. And that's important when you convert an engine to run hydrogen gas, as you need to retard the timing when running hydrogen. And if you don't do that, you will damage the engine very quickly. I've made lots of small engines in the past and kept the standard ignition timing, which on small engines tends to be something like 30 degrees, 32 degrees before top dead center, and over time you develop a lot of piston slack. And
So you gotta change the timing when you're doing, I think he's got a full setup.
So yeah, you want to change the ignition timing, so by using the
Let's see, our top fans is user Pander 5M.G. What's up? What's up, Shivity? You're number 2. And Ahmed Y8E3I is number 1.
That means you get a spark.
Thank you, top fans.
Whenever you want the spark to occur. And then you get you also get a spark at bottom dead center, which is not great. In fact, no, that's wrong. You get 2 sparks at top dead center on the ignition stroke, and later on the exhaust stroke, which can cause backfire for hydrogen gas. So if you
hey, we're gonna do a special video dedicated to this, alright? We're gonna come back. Like, subscribe, share, thumbs up. We're gonna do a next video dedicated to this.
These do cost more money.
We'll be back.
But a lot of modern cars now use
Maybe I could find something a little better of an explanation too than this guy who's all glitchy.
coil on plug, I believe it's